Right guys, we're going to look at question 3 here, and this is about the reproductive hormones and specifically about IVF. So we know that we require fertilization, I hope, in order to create an embryo. Fertilization usually occurs by a sperm donating 23 chromosomes and an egg donating 23 chromosomes to give 46 chromosomes, which will create a human. And in order for that to happen, usually, of course, we have the sperm being injected into the uterus via the vagina from the penis, and the ovary releasing an egg, which travels down the fallopian tube and will be fertilized at some point. It could be either of the ovaries and will be fertilized at some point here, with the sperm coming up, and remember, hundreds of millions of them falling by the wayside, but eventually, hopefully, one will fertilize the egg. So that's what normally happens. Now, IVF is a process in which this system doesn't work properly. And with that in mind, we need to try and enable fertilization to happen, but in an artificial way. So, if we look at the questions here, name 2 hormones used in IVF treatment. Well, they are follicle stimulating hormone, which matures eggs, and LH, which causes the release of eggs. Now, what we're going to try and do in IVF is we are trying to allow the sperm and the egg to come together outside the body. And then what we're going to do is we are then going to fertilize them together and then put them inside the uterus. Okay? So in this question it says, got a good picture here, describe the process of IVF, use the information in the diagram to help you. So this is 4 marks. This should be really easy because we've got the diagram, but we should know this without the diagram. Okay, so in our process, we have the sperm, which is donated by the man, okay, and the egg, which is going to be donated from the woman. Now, FSH and LH are given to the woman in order to cause her to produce many eggs. And then these are harvested from the woman. Now, we can say that the woman donates the eggs, but there is what actually happens is these hormones cause multiple eggs to be produced. Usually it would be once a month. And then a syringe is placed up into the ovary and the eggs are literally sucked out. And then a number of them are doused with the sperm and a embryo forms, hopefully a number of embryos, and then one is chosen and it is inserted back into the woman's uterus and implanted on the uterine wall. Once that happens, the process of pregnancy is as it would be naturally. So we are back to what would have happened if an egg had been fertilized in the fallopian tube, made its way down and implanted naturally on the uterine wall. So the process of IVF is the removal of the eggs from the woman, the fertilization of the eggs with the sperm that's been donated by the man in the lab, the harvesting of the embryos to choose the best one, and then the insertion in the uterine wall, we call it implanting in the uterine wall, for the embryo to grow. So if we look at the mark scheme, we've got eggs collected from the ovary. I think that we should actually talk about the hormone that the woman has taken in order to increase egg production. But they started with collection from the ovary. The eggs mix with sperm, but fertilization occurs. We need fertilization there. Okay, I don't really like mixed either there. We should be thinking about fertilization, which is the fusion of gametes. Okay. The fertilized egg divides to form an embryo. The embryo is then inserted into the womb. I prefer implanted into the uterine wall. Okay. Notice it says ignore references to vagina. That's a good indication, a good steer from the board that the vagina is only relevant here insofar as it's a passage towards the uterus. Okay, so don't put they're inserted into the vagina. They are implanted in the uterine wall. And this FSH matures egg and LH releases egg should not be at the bottom, okay? In fact, that's what I was talking about earlier. The FSH matures the eggs is the first thing that happens, not the last. Okay, so there are 4 marks, but we should know the overall process and be able to describe it without the diagram.